Yooo Mana Squad, huge shout out to Wizards of the Coast. We are MTG ambassadors for Innistrad Remastered. Make sure to hit up the link in the description below for all of your spooky goodness. Stay petty.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Command Center, where we like to put our favorite commander, maybe even yours, front and center. And you know we can't do it unless you play those three spooky letters, EDH. What does it stand for today, Hadoken?
Y'all know what it stands for, and I'm sick of telling y'all because at the same time, every time we do this, it stands for Ethereal Demonic Halos. That's right, we back at it again, people. It's back to the beginning of the, back to the end of the game. With cars and stuff that goes 16 gigawatts. But before we go down that rail, what are we talking about today?
We are at the return to the return to the return of the return of Innistrad. I think that's the correct number of returns we got. We're in Innistrad with Innistrad Remastered, and this is definitely a nostalgia set, but it's interesting. They're basically bringing in aspects of every set from Innistrad's plane and combining it into some new draft format where you have stuff from the OG through the weird Eldrazi Tentacle phase all the way through Midnight Hunt and Crimson Vow. So we're going to talk about some of our connection points to Innistrad. I know each of us kind of has different ones, how we feel about the plane in general and getting to revisit it in a setting like this. And then we're going to get into some of our favorite art and treatments because we haven't done an art video in a while. And for a set like this that is all reprints, kind of taking us back to, I know, one of my favorite planes, really the most exciting part is we get new arts, we get new frames, we get all this new stuff with some of our favorite characters. So we're going to get into that too. But let's just start with our connection point to this set. Before we started, you mentioned it's interesting that it seems like multiple of us actually got in to Magic around different Innistrad releases.
Yeah, that's definitely right. I got entrenched as a commander player around, I believe this was actually the first major set to be released around the time I started learning and really started understanding the game. And it was actually a fun time and a fun experience to be a Magic player around the time. Like I'm at the LGS and they're getting the LGS set up for F&M. They got the big cardboard cutout of Griselbrand sitting over there in the corner looking all menacing. And then you got, just everybody just losing their mind, just ready to come do their draft. And I was actually surprised because I'm just now learning the game. I saw Griselbrand, I saw the commercial trailer, I saw what the card was able to do at the time. And I was just like, that seems kind of strong. I've heard there's these things called ban to cards going around. I think this is going to be one of them. Lo and behold, barely getting out of the gate, Griselbrand was banned. Called it. It was like a little humble brag because, every now and then you get 1 out of 1,000. So I was definitely feeling myself around the time. But yeah, this was definitely a fun set to be around at the time. And just having this whole little theme about zombies and monsters and stuff, because I was a Grixis player, so zombies was my thing. So this definitely beefed up what I was trying to do at that time as well. So yeah, any other questions, or do you want to go into your entry point, Derek?
Well, I'll get into mine, and then I'm curious. Ken's backstory is always mysterious, so I feel like Ken probably spawned in Innistrad in reality. He was just born out of a coffin in Innistrad, started beating up Gitfrog, started beating up Sorin, and they're like, look, we got to get this guy out of here, and that's how he became here. He was banned. He got banned from the Innistrad plane, and they were just like, yeah, we can't deal with that, and so he joined our group. I think that's is that what happened? You spawned into that back alley that we met in our Brawl Club, and you just happened to pop up straight fresh out of Innistrad? Is that what you were covered in, like swamp muck?
That's pretty much how I show up nowadays. Most of the time it's like a black hole or a porta potty. Pretty much the dirtiest places you can kind of slide through. That's my gateway to come in.
And that is what Innistrad's all about. But yeah, so my entry point was, I joined right when Amonkhet released. It was actually right before the Hour of Devastation pre-release, which was my first formal Magic event. So I was in my lab, and one of my friends was trying to convince me to play, and I really wasn't feeling it. I was on the fence. I was like, some of this looks cool. This looks cool. The Amonkhet stuff looked cool. But yeah, getting to see tentacle monsters transforming into creatures, and then the art for Emrakul, and it's just this giant otherworldly being just causing everyone to mass attack each other, and I was like, this is beautiful. This is amazing. And then obviously, there's no surprise, years later, as I got more into Magic, obviously Innistrad's my favorite plane. I've ranted about it in so many videos at this point. I've done so many different deck techs about Innistrad-based things. My Grimgrin deck is one of my favorite things. It's one of the OG Innistrad legends. I've never shut up about the card Spider Spawning being probably, one of my favorite Magic cards ever printed. Still have a Commander deck built around Spider Spawning. And this is maybe like 2019, 2020, had a chance to do an OG Innistrad draft. So from the 2011 Innistrad set with some friends to kind of get an idea of that environment, which I figured would be basically the only time I'd get to do that. It was awesome. So this plane is my favorite part of Magic. I'm one of those people that if we went to Innistrad every year, I wouldn't be that mad, because just being in that atmosphere and being around all the spookiness is my favorite part of the game. So yeah, I did not need to be sold at all. But Ken, I am actually curious to your relationship with Innistrad. What year did you start playing? Were you there for OG Innistrad, or were you there for kind of the second go round?
I think I was there for the second go around, and the way I kind of ran into it was like happenstance, because like this is when I had this is one of my earlier jobs, and y'all know what a job stands for, just over broke. So I was go in and out of commutes from the city, and I was stuck in traffic. Real story time. It was raining outside. It was pouring down rain. I was in Atlanta traffic. My mind wandered, and this rarely happens when I drive. Actually, this happens all the time. It's a very dangerous thing. Don't do it. But anyway, I was sitting there, and I just spaced out for a minute, and 3 songs had played, and I snapped back to reality, and I was in the same spot. That's when I looked up, and I saw an exit, and I got off that exit because I was like, I can't do this. I'm literally about to go insane sitting in traffic. And I run inside of a Battle and Brew where they're doing this thing called a draft. So I sit down, and this is when the second or third go around, the Innistrad is there. So I'm sitting down paying, $15 for a $2 burger. And I'm sitting there, and I'm enjoying myself. I'm looking around, and I decided, you know what? It's only a few bucks to participate in this draft. So I opened up some packs. And mind you, I played Magic for a little bit before this, so I was aware of what was going on. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, this is interesting. And I'm seeing nothing but vampires and werewolves. And at first I'm like, is this like the vampires from that movie with the vampires that glitter? Y'all know it as Midday. But anyway, I'm sitting there looking at it, and I'm trying to figure out what's going on. People beat me up because apparently in their free time, they also like to steal candy from babies, because I told them I was brand new. I wasn't familiar with drafts and everything, but they still decided, oh yeah, no mercy in this dojo. So after they got done slapping me up a couple of times, I finished my burger, my drink, and I got back to 2-hour traffic.
And the fun thing about that is that traffic that you dealt with, it was scarier than any horror that Innistrad has to offer. I think that's the moral of that story. You'd rather get lost in a world of tentacle monsters, giant frogs, and vampires and zombies than venture into that traffic, and I do not blame you. So it is interesting that we sorry, yeah.
So sorry, yeah. What, like you mentioned, it was tentacles, more monsters, and beasts that transformed. It was every anime fan's dream in that pack. I was like, oh, okay. This is a weeaboo's. If this is what their thing right here, they'll go crazy for this.
So that kind of takes us back to this Innistrad Remastered set, because I think it feels like it was really meant to pull all of us coming from different eras of Innistrad together, because it's got stuff from OG Innistrad, it's got a bunch of stuff from that like Eldritch Moon era Innistrad, and it's got a bunch of stuff from the newest go with the Midnight Hunt and Crimson Vow. And it's basically combined all the different parts of it into its own draft format. It's cool because if you look across Innistrad, every time we go to Innistrad, we're going to get zombies, we're going to get vampires, we're going to get some version of like werewolves. There's graveyard synergies, there's flashback. They all had consistent enough mechanics that it kind of makes sense for them to be kind of drafted together. So obviously we got the classics like Spider Spawning, like Travel Prep, and then some of the newer stuff that we've seen more recently. Yeah, Kim?
Yeah, can we be real? The draft format is if you open a Gristlebrand or Abyssin, you win. Like, that's going to be literally the draft format right here.
Yes, for Commander players, that is true, though. This is your one chance to actually play with a Grizzlebrand and see its power. You gotta draft it. You got to pack one, pick one. Because otherwise, you know what? Just put it in your Commander deck. Somebody's got to call you out on it, right? Rules are for people that follow rules. Isn't that a thing? But let's get
there's
into.
there's a
Sorry.
way that you can tell if you like. Okay, and the best part about this is that if you are in the draft and somebody does pop the Gristle brand, you'll know because all of a sudden a chorus will appear behind them. The temperature will drop to 52 degrees. The light is just going to dim as a spotlight, and a red hue appears in their face. They may grow horns and a tail, so just want you to know what they pick from that pack.
So I have a theory because Grizzlebrand seems kind of like a bully. I think Grizzlebrand is so grumpy because he doesn't have hands. He's got a knife and a club. And it's like, imagine if every day you had like a giant blade for a hand and a giant like bonk club for a hand. Like, what if you wanted to eat pizza?
You don't. You eat
like
seafood.
Imagine if every time you
seafood.
try to eat, you eat seafood.
You just eat seafood. What's the problem here? I'm not seeing a problem.
Did he just like stab it with a knife hand and then chomp chomp and then it's just like, well, that's all he's got? Or does he just like, I guess he would be like shellfish. He's got a club to like bonk the shellfish.
Right hand. You know how the left hand's for gripping, the right hand's for flipping, the right hand's for smashing, the other one's for stabbing.
So this we'll save this for later. More about Grizzlebrand and all his stuff in life. Let's talk about some of this art, because the art in this set for me is always the best part of all the Innistrad sets. We have the spookiest art and some of the most just like amazing looking characters and settings in all of Magic. So in this set, really the big thing is they got old border and we have showcase frames and some new art of the original characters that are all brought into this remastered set. So we were all each going to pick our 3 favorites amongst the old border, the showcases, or just new art for an existing character. And we've done some research and found some super legit, totally real fun facts about some of these characters and about some of the art direction and stuff that we want to bring you as well. So it's just a whole look, appreciate art and get educated all at the same time. Super exciting. Ken, I know you look like you're just ready to tell us something amazing. Do you want to kick it off?
Okay, yeah, let me go ahead and start this card right quick. All right, everybody get in the back. We about to go somewhere. You ready? The first card I want to pull up is Abrade, the new art for Abrade. This card speaks to me. You know why? Because this card is me. It's the same reason I love Stranglehold. A great musician by the name of two packages once said, "I am not a killer, but don't push me." This card speaks to me on certain levels because it's like you don't have. This is the definition of you don't have to. You get player removal is the best removal. First of all, Abrade is choose one. Either Abrade deals 3 damage to target creature or destroys target artifact. So it already smells what I'm stepping in. But look at this art. This art is like Don't let this uniform fool you. I will come to, and you can tell that the hands are coming out of the abyss. Like this person was talking mad trash. Like that he was writing checks that his bank account was 0. That behind had to cash all of it, and right now he's cashing it. And and if you zoom in close, look at the eyes. The soul has been left the body. It's been gone. It is literally a vacant apartment right now because he is literally paying for his dues as we speak.
I was gonna say this is actually a photograph of the last time I tried to counter one of Ken's spells, of him just reaching across the table, countering it with the power of friendship. We'll call it that. You're coming across the table, reaching over for me.
I bring you love. I bring you love. That's what this card says.
I do, and Abrade is also I love Abrade in that like. It is the classic for me. I love putting in that in all my red decks because the one person who decides they have the audacity to cast a Soul Ring early game, you just tell them no. You know what? I'm glad you thought that was a good idea, but no. Or even if they try Mana Dork, just no. It's the perfect early game. You thought you were going to have a good game, but no, this is just a sign of things to come. And that art kind of signifies that you are basically just coming across the table telling them nope, nope, nope.
Honestly, I believe anybody who plays Turn 1 Soul Rings is the same type of person who sit there and eat hot mayonnaise out of a jar.
I've never tried it. It doesn't sound like a good time, but I'll take your word for it. All right, Sed, do you have a card ready?
Yeah, definitely. So I mentioned Grizzlebrand earlier, and so I was curious. Let me see what type of new art is swirling around Grizzlebrand these days. Man, this art is This is something here. I guess I'm gonna throw it up in the chat as well, so you all can marvel at the wonder that is G Breezy. So first of all, we talked a little bit about this. I'm not sure if it made it into our chat right here, but the club hand and the serrated blade as the other hand, like ready to do all of the damage. Not sure like which one is going to happen first, but I do know one thing for certain by looking at this art. The first thing that catches my eye, and honestly the only thing, is the cat that you see down there in the left hand corner. Because that guy, he's looking towards, I guess, the rest of the army or whatever, and he's doing something very obvious. He's pointing towards Gristlebrand, and I don't understand why, because everyone sees it. Everyone sees G Breezy. So I don't understand what he's doing. And this is exactly why he's going to be the first one to catch it out of everybody, that entire army. I don't understand how he's going to be the first one to catch it, but he's going to be the first one. Because he's got some strong let me see your manager vibes. Did you talk about dude in the front? Yeah. It's like turned around pointing. Exactly. Yeah, he's 100%. He's like, yeah, 100%.
Y'all cannot be more wrong. As a matter of fact, this guy is a whole gangster. You ever tell you what he's doing? He's sending them towards the battle. And if you notice, he ain't moving. Everybody else is running towards Gristlebrand, trying to take the fight to Gristlebrand. He is literally charging a battery up and secretly sneaking away. This guy is a genius. I will not let you guys sit here and tarnish this remarkable individual, this survival of Darwinism, and you will not sit here and blaspheme him as he sits there and send everybody else into the fire as he gets away.
I do appreciate the fact that he's yelling at everybody, pay 7 life, draw 7 cards.
This is the same person that be like, are you gonna let him sit there and talk to you like that as he is safely out of the fight? This is a pioneer. This is a brave soul. This is what this is.
As Gristlebrand stands off there in the distance with, I don't understand. I don't know if his left wing is his left wing is named Lifelink and his right wing is named Flying, or if his club is named Flying and his serrated blade is named Lifelink. I don't know. Either way, they're not in for a good day.
The answer is yes. The answer is yes.
I'm gonna admit though, I definitely pictured Grizzy B as like a normal heighted demon. I did not realize he was the size of, like, he's basically, it looks like to scale the same size as Emrakul based on the art. Yeah, it almost looks like he saw the album cover that Emrakul did and said, hold on, I'm gonna do the exact same thing, but nobody's gonna notice, because I'm pretty sure he did the almost exact pose Emrakul did.
Well, I just want to
except slightly different font.
I just want to point out that his base ability, first of all, Eugene the Planewalker has the ultimate to do this. He just does it. He just does it. That's his base form. That's not even his final form. All right? And look at the size of him. He reminds me of that anime Attack on Bigums. Y'all know what I'm talking about.
I don't, but I'm going to take your word for it. All right, so the first one I'm going to talk about is super, like, just not surprising at all, and it is Grimgrin Corpseborn, just because I talk about this card all the time, but there is new art for Grimmothy here. And Grimmothy it comes in untapped, you eat all your own creatures to untap it, put a bunch of +1 counters, and then when you swing, you destroy your opponent's creatures and get +1 counters. What I love about this art is it gives you such, like, the OG art has that very, like, spooky, almost, like, old-timey photograph vibe to it. We got the I think it was March of the Machine that we had with the newest art with the combo cards and everything and all that, where it was like the team ups in that set. And we had another Grimmy that had more of like almost like a cartoony vibe to it and gave you more of like an action pose of Grimmothy. And this was a great combination of the two. He looks terrifying. Just a giant mass of undeadness with one arm and a giant hook. It's just got skulls all over him. Literally got like a skull chain, a skull tied to his shield, got skulls in his neck cage. Yeah, it feels like if you're walking through a haunted forest, this is like the last dude you want to see. Fun fact, or 2 fun facts about Grimmothy. His government name is Grimmothy Grimmerson. He just wanted to go by Grimgrin because he felt like it wasn't intimidating enough. And second fun fact, actually a super nice guy. Not at all. He just looks scary. He just gives off the vibes. Not his fault. He's a swell fellow. So anybody who has any hate towards Grimmothy, do not remove him when I play him. Super nice guy, not threatening at all. He just wants to be your friend.
Not gonna lie.
I'm sorry. You can give your disturbed thought first. Okay.
Not gonna lie, this kind of looks like the lunch lady who used to serve us sloppy joes in middle school. Same skull necklace and everything, except he has less spit on her face, on his face. Sorry, go ahead, say it.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, is the wolf on the hook? Like, was that necessary? Was did we need that imagery? Like, does it always come with it? Does he throw the wolf at you and it's like still alive? Like, I'm confused.
I was trying to figure out, at first I was like, oh, look at that. Grimmy's got a pet wolf. And then I was like, I don't think it's his pet. It's on his hook. And then it also, it begs the question.
No.
If you see someone else.
His meat hook got a pet wolf.
Yeah. Also, wait, that is a meat hook. Is Grimmy behind the meat hook massacre?
No, I just think it's trying to say that it's off the chain. Doo-doo. All right, coming up to the stage, my second draft pick is Infernal Grass. The reason why I like this art is the art does not match the card. From the art, it should be doing something way more severe. Like, it should say you lose the game and half of your net income. As a matter of fact, we take 50% of your house and everything. First of all, let's look at the art. I got questions for the artist, whoever drew this. What's in your basement? Number two, it looks like the safe word is potato. I'm just saying, I don't even want to be in the same room as this card. Like, this is something summoned after you eat something greasy at a place that has the meats. That's all I'm gonna say.
Dude, it's destroying a creature. He's being killed by a demon. Obviously, he's not thrilled about it. You made it sound like he would be in on this of like, you know what? Yeah, demon, come pull me into the underworld. This is exactly what I want. I think it's very safe to say this dude that is being pulled into the underworld by a mystery demon isn't excited about it. I'm willing to jump on that hot take.
No. This creature is not getting destroyed. They got to get dragged to a place and say, you want to play a game. Exactly. While riding on a mini bike.
Is that the Lord of Pain's alternate form? Because I always get, like, obviously it's a different set, but Lord of the Pain kills me because it's a human assassin, but it looks like TV screen. So we don't actually know what the Lord of Pain is. Is it a secret crossover from Innistrad? Is this secretly the Lord of Pain?
Yeah, this is the gateway to the Lord of Pain. Exactly. Like, this art, I have to find several. I'm gonna put this in a blue deck. That's how good this art is, because it's like the absence of hope. It's like all it's like literally the gates of hell. Abandon hope, all ye who enter. And this person ain't even entering willingly. Like, I love the art on this, what all it invokes, because it's like the definition of despair.
It is terrifying. I will give you that. It's also very similar vibes to the first art you picked. Ken, I feel like a vibe of all of these are just imagery of what you do whenever I either counter your spells or like Rivers rebuke your board. The first one was you jumping across the table. The second, this is after I've already beaten you in said game in this hypothetical world, and you're walking over to get a snack or something. You come up from behind me, headlock, backflip, throw me on the table, like wrestling style. That's what I'm picturing.
Well, first, that's a lie because you said you beat me. So let's go ahead and dispel that myth to begin with.
I wanted to slip that in there that you're noticing, but
I don't know what
sneaky.
I don't know what kind of fever.
Sad.
I don't know what kind of fever dream you were having when you cooked that up.
Sad. I'm sad. I thought I got that in there. At least in my hypotheticals, I can beat you. Keep going.
Yeah. So my next one, I think I'm gonna have to go with the oldie but a goodie. I think it's gonna have to end up being Olivia Voldarian. So this masterpiece, this movie poster, this theatrical presentation that they're giving us right here is everything from the bottom of the card to the top of the card. Like, if you just work, I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna work my way from the bottom to the top. Like, it's starting with the abilities at the bottom. It looks almost like it's a decorated cake with that dress that she got on, that battle armament. You got the corset that just looks dangerous. She's serving with the hands on the hip right there. Like, got the words just flowing off the top of the hair, which looks like blood, looks like arms coming out of the blood, or hair. I can't tell. It's all the same thing. Whatever. And then coming up with the mana cost. I've never seen a mana cost written like that. I love it. Do more of that. And then you got the eyes on the left and the right looking like one of those old mystery, lost in mysterious dungeon type poster. I can't give a property name here exactly, but I don't know if you remember like those old radio serials where it was just like a curse of the something, and this is like this is like the poster for it. Like this is giving me everything, man. Like this is just everything. I love it. I also used to have a Olivia deck too, one of the first ones I built. So I'm loving everything about this card.
I'm with you on that. So when I saw this art, I've never had an Olivia deck. I've never been tempted to build one. This art made me want to, just because the eyes are really what sells it for me. Because you're right, it has like the epic, almost like a Renaissance look to her in the middle, but then the eyes behind it make it be like, okay, this is what it appears, but there's something really messed up happening behind it. And it's almost like she gives this appearance of this like innocent thing, but she's gonna damage all your creatures, turn them into vampires, and steal them before your opponents know what's happening. Yeah, I think the showcase treatment in general, because we've already talked about, I think this is the third one potentially we've mentioned so far. This horror poster thing is working great. Like I really love how featured the art gets to be, because it's just like it's essentially a full art card the way they're able to feature a lot of that. So I actually said I want to stay on the topic of full art stuff, because my next one that I have is also one of these like full art showcases, these horror poster things.
Yeah.
Hermit Druid.
Ooh.
Hermit Druid is back, and the Hermit Druid art it might be my favorite art in this set. I was gonna save it for last, but you already mentioned these frames, and I was kind of like, ooh, now I got to talk about it. So Hermit Druid is the classic mills a bunch of your deck until you hit a basic land card. We haven't seen a reprint of this in forever, so it's the first set it's been in a very long time. But the showcase art is wild. It's this like old dude that's clearly the Hermit Druid, and a giant zombified bear jumping out from like in front of a full moon, and it is perfect. I love it. There's like an old school horror, but also like a new age horror vibe to it, because it's just like this monster bear. Like there's a lot of like monster movies nowadays that have like these like new takes on monsters, not the classics. They're trying to like redo it. This feels like it'd be the villain in like a new horror movie. Like it just looks terrifying.
Yeah.
Also, fun fact. Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I have a quick fun fact. Turns out the Hermit Druid in this art is no longer with us. He had to be replaced. An Innistrad standing up and putting your arms in the air and yelling, "Hey bear, hey bear," does not scare bears away in Innistrad. Does not work. He had his face swiftly chomped down on after this picture was taken. So there's a new Hermit Druid running around.
That don't work against any bear. That won't even work against a gummy bear.
Yes.
What are we doing here?
So I got a fun fact for you. So in the realm of bears, since we're talking about bears now, it's always, if you see a brown bear, you can pick your arms up, yell, "Hey bear, hey bear," and brown bears will typically run away if you make yourself like look big and yell. If you see a grizzly bear, you're in trouble. Do not yell, "Hey bear." It'll probably try to eat your face, but you basically don't want to run because it will chase you down. And then the other thing is, if you see a polar bear, you are already dead. If you see a polar bear, it's just going to eat you. If it made itself visible, you're done for. So fun bear facts for all the bears out there. But yes, the Hermit Druid bear, the zombie bear. I don't know what the rules are for this one, but if you see this, yeah, you're probably in trouble. I don't know what its backstory is, but it's got a root growing out of an eye, which I just feel like is not a good sign if you're trying to fight it off. So, woo zombie bears for Hermit Druid.
I believe the story is all written on a card. So if you start from the top left, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a basic land. Put that card into your hand, and all other cards reveal this way into your graveyard. That means if you revealed a bear and you had to throw it into your graveyard, he created this. This is his monstrosity. This is a monster of his own making. So I think he's proud of that fact. I think we got it all wrong. I think the monster is really in the front of the card. Plot twist.
That's deep. Oh, that's some deep stuff right there. Oh, that's a bar. That is a poetic bar.
The killer is inside the house.
My mind is blown. All right, Ken, what do you got next? That that blew my mind. Okay, Ken, go.
Okay, it's a toss up because these two were just too awesome, so I'm gonna just lump them together. First is the Cultivator Colossus, because it looks like a Wendigo. It's like literally a Wendigo blending, a perfect representation of an indigo blending into the forest. Because from the outsets, it's literally the story of the Harbinger as people are walking into the woods, and it's this eerie presence, and you don't realize it until it's too late. The Cultivator Colossus, of course, is his power and toughness equal to the number of lands you control. But I just love the art on this card and what it represents. It's like one of the truest old. It's one of the oldest representation of horror, because what's more classic than that thing in the woods? And then last but not least is the art for Temporal Mastery. This is just a straight up comic book art. Yes, it still had the whole gothic. You can still feel that gothic architecture, that whole gothic theme that it has into it, but it has this ethereal presence to it, and it's very superhero esque. It's literally like the finishing move before they chain a demonic being and have it sent straight to another dimension. Like it looks like it's expelling it through the clock and using the clock as like a summoning circle before it expels before it exercises a demon.
Yeah, and these are just more of these like full arts, and these new arts look so good. You mentioned Cultivator. The thing I love about that is Cultivator Colossus. Both, I agree, looks like a Wendigo. Also looks like when a cat thinks it's being sneaky but isn't, and trying to push a glass of water over. It has that like paw mid-raised staring at you like, you don't see me, I'm invisible, what are you talking about, and 100% about to push a glass of water over. That's literally the first thing I thought of when I saw this art. I was like, both terrifying and very cat-like. But Niels Ham is like possibly my favorite Magic artist. I've like, yeah, his art is always just insane. Like, the Titania tokens are Niels Ham. He's done a lot of the art for, I think, the Cycle of Flip, the Delver cycle, different ones like that. Yeah, so much good art. So yeah, it's perfect.
I just love how everything from the way it's shaped, its form, the tongue is just like tree branches and stuff, and it's like that old adage of like your mind plays tricks on you when you're in the woods, so you see things that may not actually be there. Speaking of weird stuff in the woods, so apparently, have you ever heard of crow?
Like the bird?
Like the bird.
Yeah, like caw.
Okay, yeah. That's a lie. They can actually there are some of them that can actually mimic human voices. Yeah. So when people would be no, not even lying. So when people would be in the woods and that they would swear that they were being watched or they could hear voices, sometimes it would just be the crows. If you ever get a chance, look up videos of crows attempting to speak, and it is one of the most horrifying things you will ever see.
Well, I never had a plan to go in a forest anytime soon, but now I extra don't have plans to go in a forest anytime soon. And there are a bunch of little birds flying around him in the art. I almost wish that art does make me wish Cultivator Colossus was legendary, though. I would love to have that. This either needs to be on a playmat or as my commander, because that art is just so very much just like chilling. In that, like, it's like if you ever in a forest, you like turn, you would see that face, turn away and turn back, and it's gone. It would just be a normal hill, like 100%. Oh, it's wonderful. All right, sorry, Sed. We'll throw it over to you.
Yeah, definitely. So this one is going to be an oldie but a goodie. I'm actually kind of mad because I didn't even know that they would reprint this card, because now people are going to know about this. Oh, well. But this is a card people should know about anyway. It's called Heartless Summonings. This is a 1 in a black enchantment, and I'm going to throw it up in a chat for everybody to see. So it's actually kind of interesting. I'm actually a little bit torn on this one because the art on it, of course, is pretty good. It's pretty cool. Is Gisa, of the famous Gisa and Garof's. And she's, doing her zombie thing. I love the whole presence of the zombie. She's standing there in the middle, in the center, looking, really badass and everything. It's just that I don't know if the ability matches what's going on with the art. Because I don't see this as a zombie, as a spell. Like, I get what the name of it is, and I get what she does, but this isn't really a necromancer thing. This is, I'm going to reduce the cost of my spells, and zombies are already coming in a little bit weak, so you don't really make them a little bit weaker. I definitely throw this in other decks that don't have a lot of zombie things going on. But I definitely do like the art. I just don't necessarily want it on this particular card. But all in all, I think it's a card everyone should know about, but also the art is still banging too.
It would make sense if it said creature spells in your graveyard cost 2 less.
Yeah. I mean, it is what it is. It's just that, power at any cost. So it is definitely still a black spell. It's just that Maybe I would have rather see a different art on here, and it can still work if I'm not stretching it too far. It's just not the way that I personally would use the card, and I don't see zombies when I first think about this, because we have Rooftop Storm for reducing the cost of zombie spells, and it leaves the zombies intact. So I definitely use this for other things like demons, in a sense. Again, like the card, I like the art. Just probably wouldn't put those two together.
No, I could definitely see that. But yeah, the art is nice. And that is a card too. I feel like I almost never see it played, because that downside of, oh, my creatures get -1. Why would I want that? It feels like you want it more than you think. There's a lot of, especially in decks with black, you have access. You're going to be in like Grixis or Jund, or you're going to be in color combinations that want big creatures. And it's just like, if you make them cost 2 less, the -1 literally means nothing, especially because at this point, so many creatures, you just care about that ETB, attack trigger, things like that. Like, oh, my 7/7's a 6/6. Whatever will I do? Like, you're not going to care most times.
Well, not just that, too, because... not just that, because in some cases you want your creatures to die. So this actually helps kick off like death triggers and a bunch of stuff like that too. So like you said before, and I gotta agree with you. I do like the art too. It reminds me of that show Contest of Chairs. It kind of gives me that vibe.
Yes, I do think I do love the concept though of using it as almost like an auto sack outlet, because if things die to state-based effects, if you have some sort of aristocrats effects in play, you're effectively immediately getting payoff. So like another card in the set, Meat Hook Massacre. If you have a Meat Hook Massacre out and the whole point of the deck is to just churn off triggers, if you have anything that's just making tokens, 1,000,000 tokens, they are immediately going to die to state-based effects, but you're still going to get those die triggers, I believe. They should still be dying.
You still
so
get
if that's
the die.
The case.
So, like, case in point, if you have 6 mana Lily, that whenever a creature dies, you draw a card, and you really just need to get some card draw in your system, just play a bunch of 1/1 creature, 1/1 vampire creatures. They'll instantly die based to state-based effects because of this card, and you just instantly draw. Especially whenever creatures die, a player mills. Woo!
Yeah, I love that. It is that's a fun card. I think that's just one of those that I should probably look for slots more, considering I have one and I just never slot it into deck. All right, so because I'll take us home. I have one more, and I kind of want to talk about, this is old art but in a new treatment. So we have an old border version of this card, and I really love how, because I feel like especially when you take existing art and you put it in an old border, it's hit or miss. You either get some that look like, okay, you can tell they just put an existing art in old border, or you get one that kind of fits the vibe. And this one I like for a lot of reasons. So we have Forbidden Alchemy. So Forbidden Alchemy, and unsurprising news, was part of the spider spawning deck in OG Innistrad draft. But we're getting an old bordered version of it. And there's a few things I love about this card. If you look at the card, one, they brought back the little tombstone symbol in the upper left corner, because they used to do that like in old sets to indicate something was like a graveyard synergy or had some sort of graveyard effect. They put a little tombstone in the top left. So it's got the little tombstone, which I love that being there. But I just like the art.
That what that means?
Yeah, I never. Yeah,
it signifies a graveyard synergy, or I forgot the exact. I could be. It's either like an ability you can activate in the graveyard, or that it's a graveyard synergizing thing. I think some dread creatures from back when may have had it, but I've seen it before on cards. But yeah, I think it indicates specifically graveyard, because another card I'm looking through the set and stuff with flashback has that little tombstone on it.
Really, I never noticed that.
I remember hearing about it a long time ago, but I never actually saw it. Okay, I see it now. Okay.
Yeah. So that's super cool. I just love that that's there. That makes me happy. And this card is just one that I'm a sucker for. Any sort of 2 to 3 mana card. You're drawing a card or two. You're getting to look through your deck. You have the flashback for extra value. And fun fact, this is actually a photograph in Forbidden Alchemy. You know how sometimes they'll get like reference for photos? This photograph is actually of me trying to force Gaia's Cradle into another green deck where it doesn't fit. That's me sitting on a bench trying to figure that out of how I can put it in when I don't need to. And it hasn't gone well. So it's just it's been forced and forced decks to not work like they're supposed to. But I keep trying to find a casual use for a Cradle. Fun fact, there are no casual uses for a Cradle. I've been trying for going on 6 years. It hasn't happened. So I'll keep trying and forbiddenly alchemizing at my desk trying to brew these decks.
Before we move off too far, I do want to ask one question about one particular card I came across, just to get your guys' thoughts about it. Because I guess none of us brought up this particular art or treatment. So I did bring up Liliana of the Veil, oldie but a goodie, of course, in some of those other formats. They love this Liliana. I'm not entirely thrilled about I'll put it like this. How do you guys feel about the treatment below the text, below the legendary Planeswalker box? So all basically the text box and the power, or the loyalty, should I say?
I get why they did this. It's actually a shout out. So you remember those cards where you could pay to level them up? And then if you level, I think it's a hark back to that set. Like, I get what they were trying to do. It's a little jarring, and I think after getting used to it for a while, I can rock with it. But right now, it kind of kicks the familiarity in the brain. You know how when you see something you're not so used to, the mind kind of balks at it at first. So I think it's one of those where after you get used to seeing it, and this is just a test batch to see the crowd's response, and if people like it, they're going to move more in this direction.
Well, no, they've done so. They've done similar things in the past. So they did an Old Border secret layer at one point that basically, I think, maybe I'll find it and put it on the screen. But there was an Old Border secret layer. I think it was like an Elspeth or something like that, where they basically templated a Planeswalker as if it was designed back when old frames were around. So it was this like bulky thing of text of how it would have been templated if that was around back then. I think this is an attempt to find a happy medium where they wanted to give it an old school vibe. The plus symbols and everything that you normally have on a Planeswalker, that's there to stay for the future. But I think they wanted to make it look like, what if we designed a Planeswalker when old borders were around? What might it have looked like? So I think that's why it's like, because that's the biggest difference, right? The jarring is like the fact that you have the plus minus and you don't have the little symbols around it. You don't have the normal templating of what a Planeswalker looks like. So they got rid of that and basically framed it just like a normal activated ability, which definitely looks different. But I think it would be more jarring if we had the Planeswalker symbols with an old border. Like, I think it would look more like, why, almost like when you see there's some art that you see that just gives modern Magic, like not in a good or a bad way, just the art itself speaks to, it feels like it was a newer card. And certain cards like that in old border throw you off a little bit. I feel like the templating might do the same thing.
Yeah, I definitely do love I'll take this. I definitely do love like the old black border bubbling effect. I'll always love those cards from this time period. I think, like you said, was jarring and throwing me off is that it's kind of, I feel like it's Magic doing this thing where they're leaning into the Planeswalkers don't look like Planeswalkers anymore, and Planeswalkers are very few and far between. So when Planeswalkers do show up, they don't look like they used to, and I think this is one of those examples of that. It kind of just looks like a regular creature card, and it's really throwing me off. So that's what's making me kind of torn on whether or not I like it or don't like it, because I do want Planeswalkers to stand out as something different and unique, and I feel like Planeswalkers are starting to blend in with the rest of the other legendary creatures in the game and whatnot.
Yeah, it is interesting, and I think it is because it is missing all of those. Like in the bottom right, there's none of the templating and none of the framework that you typically have for a Planeswalker, which is, I guess, part of the old border thing. They wanted to get that that novelty to it to make it look. All I know is, though, despite all of that, this in foil is about to be beautiful. Having that, you talk about the bubbly frame of all the colors in old border, that bubbly frame in foil might be my favorite. It looks ridiculous.
Yeah, and I really just real quick, I love I'm not sure how many times they use this. I think this art for this particular Liliana has always been the same art for the most part, just color shifted a little bit. But yeah, I feel like I haven't seen this Liliana in a while, like that outfit Liliana. Like, this is what I was introduced as into the game.
Yeah, this one looks like she farts in elevators that just looks at you.
And then tell you did it.
And it's even worse too because she put the heat behind it too. Like, look at her hand placement. She's like, yeah, not only am I going to fumigate the elevator, but I'm going to light this on fire too. That you gotta. If you're going to step in evil, you got to step all the way in.
And on that note of Lily igniting an elevator, we'll call this episode to a close. I think it was fun, like getting to go through, especially a lot of the art. They picked a lot of the most popular cards, obviously, to get some of this new art on. And I love that they went full horror. I think everyone we talked about leaned full into the like horror or dark vibes. It didn't feel like it was like, oh, let's make this fun and goofy. They went full in on, this is Innistrad. It's gonna be horror. It's gonna be spooky. The first two arts that Ken picked were literally terrifying. Like just like the most. It's effectively of demonic entities taking people. You can't think of much of a darker topic than that, and it's yeah, I love that. So, did y'all have any closing thoughts on the world of Innistrad in general, or of some of these art treatments we talked about?
Innistrad has always been a classic feature. I believe it encapsulates the basic premise of what Magic the Gathering is, especially with they always have the eldritch abominations, the big creatures, the demons, the vampires, the angels. I think it's classic lore when it comes to Magic, and I think it's a familiar base and an easy concept for people to grasp, because I think, especially when it comes to stuff like vampires, angels, and demons, those are some of the classic tropes and classic creatures that people are more familiar with. Outside of your Krakens, outside of your Eldrazi's, they can lean more into the weird and the macabre so that people can, register on a primal level what this is, because we've grown up knowing these creatures. We've grown, even depending on your religious diction or what you follow, you are aware of these beings and entities. So I think it's very classic. It's a very nice way to settle in, and like you said, it was a great draft format, and it's a great way, especially if you're trying to bring people back into the fold, or reconnect them with the product that they grew up with. This is a great way to do it.
Yeah, and I'll say I do have a better appreciation for Innistrad this fourth or fifth time that we're back now after Dustmourn. Cause I was like, Dustmourn, I feel like we already seen all the horror stuff, and I feel like we got that with all the Innistrads, but I see how they made Dustmourn his own distinct horror thing away from Innistrad, and that in itself had to be a little bit of a tall order. It had to ignore and cut some corners here and there to embrace the horror. It was more like your more modern horror, I guess, was Dustmourn, and Innistrad is more of, like you said, your OG classic monster movie horror, and fables and stories and stuff like that. I guess fables would be more so other stories, but a little bit, you get what I'm saying, like monster mythology a little bit with Innistrad, so that classic gothic horror feel, rather than like I said, that modern movie horror kind of thing. So yeah, I like I said, I do have a deeper appreciation for Innistrad now, and it's a little bit of everything in there for everybody. Not sure what I've always wanted the werewolf and wolf support to be a little bit more, but it is what it is, and I think if you really like the werewolves back then, you probably still do to this day. But yeah, all in all, it does give that nostalgia feel that it's trying to bring back, and it definitely took me back to that happier time of Magic, when things were simpler.
A simpler time. Yeah, I was about to say a simpler time when we barely.
Yeah,
like I barely knew the rules. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know you had to build and strategize. I was like, this looks cool. The art's nice. Bam. And I think that's why anybody who has that like first set that they connected with, or that first like set that they bought or whatever, I do think that you're right. There is that like, it is that happier time sense, in that like that first time that people get into Magic is typically the strongest connection point, because there's like nothing like discovering, oh, there's this entire thing that's been existing there this whole time and I knew nothing about it, and it's just here and I can just play this, and like, yeah. So that's definitely a cool aspect of it. I do think, to bounce off your point real quick, said you mentioned like with fantasy settings and stuff, I'm super biased because I love Innistrad. I think it's probably Magic's like best version of taking like existing folklore and stuff and becoming its own unique, like iconic thing. Because there's a lot of iconic Magic planes that are just unique. Like Ravnica is very unique in itself, but it is iconic. And then you also just have like Dominaria, which is the home part of Magic, which is very unique and iconic. But then you have like, Eldraine, which is very like fairy tale based. And then you mentioned Duskmourn for modern horror. It feels like Innistrad was so gothic horror and classic horror, like enthused, and like that's how we got everybody excited for it. But it did it in a way that like so much of Innistrad feels Magic specific. It doesn't feel oh, this is just like Magic's version of this. Like, no, the Git Frog is the Git Frog. Lily is Lily. Like, it's not. Yeah,
it feels like a world that's lived in.
Yeah,
very much so. Yes,
it's like Dustmore was trying to be scary, and Innistrad is scary. Like you said, it reminds you of a simpler time when people could leave their doors open and get robbed a lot easier. So that's one of the reasons why I like Innistrad.
Well, that it's gonna that'll pull it to a close. As we're getting closer to Chicago, y'all come find us in Chicago. We have schedules are getting finalized. We are going to have a meet and greet, so come find us for that. We'll all be in one spot where you can come talk to us and tell us how you're going to attack Ken first, and that you've listened to our advice. And we'll be in the creator area as much as possible over that weekend. So come find us, get some games in. We got a ton of games in with everybody in Vegas last time, so excited to do that.
Derek is lying.
And if you don't see us,
Derek is lying to y'all. It's gonna be a roast section. Every person who's getting up is gonna get lit into. I'm gonna talk about you. I'm gonna talk about your decks. I'm gonna let you mention your commander, and then I'm gonna tell you why you wrong for picking them.
Fun story. We're gonna close it on this real quick because we are at we're going a little long. But I do want to mention this story. We might have mentioned it before. One of my favorite Ken experiences of my life was we were in, I think it was Philly. And we were sitting at a table playing a game. A fan had come up, basically had been looking to get a game with us for like the whole day. We finally managed to like get away, get a table, all this. Ken has no idea. We sit down for the game. Sed and I are all excited talking to him. Ken spends the entire game roasting this man, like nonstop, every play, everything, just attacking him, blowing up his stuff, like
what he's wearing,
nonstop,
his ankles,
and then it was just. He do seem like he was having a great time, thankfully. And then after the fact, we went up like, damn, like why'd you go in on him like that? Like he was a fan, he just wanted to get a game. And Ken was like, he was a fan. So I feel bad. I wish we remembered your name, dude. But if you are watching this, thank you for not table flipping or just angry commenting for the next 12 videos after that. It was fun getting the game with you. You got the full experience. You got the real thing. There was nothing put on about that experience. You got the full Kennethy.
If it's any consolation, it should have been worse. But yeah.
To this day, he's still catching it.
Yeah. But all right. Like, subscribe, yell things at us in the comments. Find us in Chicago in a non-sneaky, sketchy way. And until then, stay petty.